So, tell me what you think your careers advice was like. You've mentioned sort of university, but sort of throughout school and right through into anything else.
In high school, it was kind of non-existent. Like, we had one meeting in year 11 with what was the careers advisor, but I think he was just a history teacher. And then I went into the meeting. He said, "Do you know what you want to be?" And I was like, "I want to be a midwife." And it was like, "What course are you doing?" And I was like, "I was going to do health and social care." And I was like, "Okay, I might see you, I might not. I'll see you later. I'll probably see you in whatever lesson I've got next." And that was it for the whole of high school.
Wow.
And then in college, I didn't get that far enough to go to the career side of it. So I have
lost.
no idea.
Yeah. Okay.
For me, I had a lot different. So when I was in primary school, my parents were told you'd never academically catch up, but I've proved that I can go beyond the limits, and I, in high school we had a lady who would come in, and so a lot different to Tarryn's experience. But it kind of she'd come in. She was called Adele, and she worked like more to send students, looking at colleges and stuff like that. And when I got to college, I had a guy who I would meet once a week, called Toby, brilliant guy. Got to know him a little bit outside of college as well, due to a few interests we had. And he basically helped me write all my stuff, like personal statements and stuff like that. And he was able to kind of like guide me in that direction and stuff like that, and help me with any bits of work that I needed. So the support was there, and a bit of the careers advice and stuff was there. And then at university we had lecturers and tutors to be able to help you with your careers advice and the career service as well. So that career advice has always been there, but it's been there in different ways throughout school.
Can I just add, we went to the same school. He was just a few years ahead.
Right.
So it was kind of there, and then it just disappeared.
And we went to the same university.
Yeah. Yeah, and what was your experience in terms of careers advice?
So in school, the careers advisor, Bev, was actually quite good. But I kind of felt like when I spoke to other people, I wasn't being listened to. I could have probably saved sort of about 2 years off doing college if I hadn't sort of been swayed towards staying in the sixth form, doing 2 extra GCSEs, and them shaping what I was doing rather than me shaping what I was doing. And I think it was decided that it would be better for me in terms of support, whether I liked it or not, to stay in sixth form for a few extra years, which resulted in me being in college for 5 years. And I kind of feel like I could have got there easier if I had done it a different way, like the way I wanted to do it. Especially since I went from doing those 2 extra GCSEs to then going on to college where for some reason I did the exact same qualification but just in BTEC format rather than GCSE format, and then went on to level 3. I kind of thought I could have saved 3 years here, or at least 1. And it felt a bit like I didn't have the control over it. But in general, the career's advice was actually quite good. It's just the control I had over what I was actually doing was a bit taken away from me.
Yeah, and I think to kind of add to that in sort of what me and Robert's saying, I kind of was told best thing for you might be at college, even though I went down the career path I did, maybe to do a year or so, like a foundation year or so, where you're skills based, and that never materialised. I was a bit like, I don't really want that. And as well, when I did arrive at college, I was like, oh, it's better because you get the qualification of, you can either have language or literature that then adds up to your GCSE English. I was a little bit more like, they were a little bit more like, oh, it's better if you've got your literature, but better if you do language as well, so that then you can actually, it betters your qualification and stuff like that. And, I just thought that, thinking back on it, I didn't particularly like or really agree with, because I already had a qualification there, so that's something else as well. But I can see where they were trying to come from and trying to help me in the best possible way as well.
So it sounds like sort of varying picture, non-existent, or being told what to do, potentially, and how much of that's linked to the SEND, the neurodivergence, or how much of it's linked to funding, support. Thinking about work in general, so if you were in work, and what supports or adjustment would make work easier for you, and what might need to change to make that happen?
I'd probably say, depending on the work, because everywhere's different, I'd probably say like a place where I can go that's dark, because working all day, it's usually like long hours. I'm not going to be able to sit there or concentrate for that amount of time without having a walk around or a sit down or somewhere to go where I can just decompress, because I go home and sleep for days after just like a few hours out, because it's so tiring. And that might be because of my like fibromyalgia or other things, but it's so tiring to do long hours of things, and you're masking as well a lot of the time, so you need to have some place and some area and some time built into your schedule or your day at work that your managers know about, really, because if they don't know you're leaving work for 10 minutes, you're probably going to get like having a meeting with them and a warning, or I don't know how works, but a warning or something about it. So having the flexibility to just leave, because it's a lot working, I'm guessing. I don't know.
I mean, we keep fighting for therapy dogs to help us along that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, wouldn't that make the difference?
Every dog should have therapy dogs, therapy cats.
Perfect.
Just have a cat on your lap. I'd work so much better if I had a cat on my lap.
And you'd be so much better regulated.
Yeah, exactly.
Go on.
Yeah, my dad thought about that with our dog, because he's a therapist getting it, because he's a greyhound, so they're quite lazy dogs. But for me, I think one of the things is training. I think an example is that I went out with a group of friends into Leeds. We went to this bar, and the guy refused to serve me because I was walking around with my friend quite a lot. We bumped to a few people who we knew, so I was talking to them. And he said, oh, we're not going to serve you, until we said to somebody, he's got SEND. They were like, oh, can we just have a word? And so they took us outside and said, oh, we're so sorry. We can bring you back in, you can have a drink in our bar. But I thought, no, I don't want to do that. I'll go up to some other friends who are in a bar just a couple of doors up. And I thought, that's where I'd rather be, with them. So I think having this awareness of like training, so they can deal with SEND people when they're in their establishment or even in the workforce, is really beneficial.
Yeah, cool.
So two things. One is transport. I feel like as much as sort of transport companies and things like that don't communicate with employers, and employers don't communicate with transport companies and like council and stuff like that. The sort of postcode lottery of how much public transport you get, and how that restricts how you can work is just ridiculous. I live in a little village, but go 40 minutes down the road, and I get a bus every 2 hours. They get 5 buses a day. They stop at like 5:25. I go 40 minutes down the road, and they're every 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And go quite a bit later as well. And going to work, as I think I mentioned earlier on, I had to get either 2 buses and then sort of basically spend my wages on the transport, which I suppose everyone has to do, but sort of to a certain extent.
To a certain extent, but not in the way that you're ending up in a negative.
Yeah. I think one of the campaigns that the Hen Alliance has is around transport and the thing around the disabled bus pass being restricted to 9 or 9:30, depending on where you live, which basically leads to a cash grab from disabled people that just is unfair and takes it away from it. Takes sort of the access away from us.
Yeah.
I mean, ironically, this morning I got a bus before 9:30, and weirdly, the driver let me on with my bus pass.
Bonus. But you can't rely on it.
You can't rely on it.
No.
I mean, it's quite handy. I know quite a lot of the drivers because it's a small bus company.
But if it was a standardised, you can use.
Yeah.
Because actually, a disabled bus pass not being able to be used till 9 o'clock, 9:30. You know, most work starts at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
So you know, you're almost suggesting this disabled person doesn't need to get to work.
Yeah.
So.
And then going on to a different thing.
Yeah, go for it.
I feel like the thing about regulation at work, not regulation in the legal sense, regulation in the sensory sense.
Yeah.
And I used to listen to music while I work.
Yeah.
But was told not to listen to music while I work. And when my conditions, I need sound input to be able to concentrate.
Yeah.
It's just throws you off, and I feel like employers could be a bit more understanding.
I think employers could be a lot more understanding, because actually, you know, if having something in your ears is not really stopping you doing your work. In fact, if it's improving your work, surely it's a little thing to go for, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely tiny. Cool. So thinking about all those things, I think, you know, it's probably going to come up to this one. So what one change would you make for jobs or workplaces to feel more welcoming to neurodivergent or SEND young people?
Giving them extra time, like if you got deadlines. Like I've never hit a deadline. You know, it's very rare that I've ever hit a deadline. It's either been 2 weeks late, months late, years late, could be anything. Either giving them extra time or I say just when it gets done, it gets done. But I mean, for work, that's probably not going to work. But giving them some extra time or giving them it earlier.
Yeah.
So
Good
then
way
you can
around it.
start looking at it, and then, you know, but I'd say just, if it's not on time, they're probably on a side quest, doing something else.
So a bit of flexibility
Yeah.
really there, isn't it? Yeah, cool.
I think I've already touched on the training aspect, which I think is really which is a key priority. But I think as well, having like not making like workplaces or for sending young people, not just saying, "Oh, we can give you this voluntary. Let's give it to you as an actual job because they're capable to do it." So it's not like that. Not everyone is. If somebody is capable of doing something like, I'm really good with media and I have sent, other people around here are good with different things, and it's not saying, oh yeah, we'll give you voluntary, we'll do this voluntary piece of work with you, or have you tried doing this and you might have to do it voluntary, rather than saying, I think you're capable, you've been doing this for a number of years, like something that's coming up for me, I've been doing something for a number of years, I can't talk too much about it, but you've been for a number of years, and now it's starting to become more of a reality in sort of the form of work. So it's stuff like that that I think is really important. Knowing people that they've got qualities and capabilities to do it, rather than thinking, oh, yeah, we'll just put you in voluntary, which I think is a real priority. Noticing that and being able to adjust to that and adapt to that.
Cool.
I think picking up on something I said, but also something Tarryn said, being able to allow people in the workplace to have more control over their sensory environment, I think that could be really key. And I think it's not just the being able to have music on or whatever. It's the lights, it's the environment around you. It's just a lot sometimes, and if you need to have headphones in, if you need to go and work somewhere else, there should be that flexibility. One thing I did forget to mention earlier on was particularly good, because it's not all bad, it's not all bad, but particularly good was that my workplace for the apprenticeship that I mentioned had a 9:30 flexibility, so I actually could get in anywhere between 9 and 9:30 and not get docked pay. I always felt a bit like I had to make it up somewhere else, but sort of, though I never particularly bothered. So it is possible to do things, just and that wasn't even just for people with disabilities or anything. It was just everyone.
So I think, that flexibility is really key, isn't it? And it's knowing what needs to be flexible. And I guess if I think about the flexibility I have in my job, as long as my job gets done, it's kind of, you can do that job at home, absolutely fine, where you can actually regulate and you can have your dog on your lap or your cat on your lap and you can, go lie down and have a snack, like you said before, and then get back to it as long as the job gets done. And I think that's the key, isn't it? If we want to do the job, and actually we're generally really good at jobs. It's just finding the right one and being able to do it flexibly.